When Sarah opened her eyes, the world looked completely different. She could see energy patterns flowing through the crystal walls, hear the electromagnetic songs of distant stars, feel the life force of her crewmates aboard the Prometheus like warm flames in the darkness. But Aeon was gone. The ancient being's physical form had dissolved during the final moments of integration, leaving only faint sparkles of light that slowly faded into nothing. Sarah felt a profound sense of loss, as though she had just lost a lover, a teacher, and a parent all at once. "Thank you," she whispered to the empty chamber, though she knew Aeon still existed within her, part of her consciousness now. Sarah stood and looked at her reflection in the polished metal surface of the altar. Outwardly, she appeared mostly unchanged. Her hair had taken on a subtle luminescence, and her eyes now held flecks of gold that seemed to shift and dance in the light. But the real changes were deeper, invisible to casual observation. She could feel her enhanced physical capabilities, strength and speed far beyond human normal. Her mind processed information at incredible rates, accessing memories and knowledge that spanned geological ages. Most remarkably, she could sense the emotional states of every person aboard the Prometheus, their fears and hopes laid bare to her enhanced perception. Captain Rodriguez was approaching the chamber, accompanied by Dr. Webb and 2 security officers. Their intentions were clear in Sarah's mind. They planned to prevent her from leaving, to keep her isolated until they could understand what had happened to her. "That won't be necessary, Captain," Sarah said aloud, though he was still several corridors away. Her voice carried through the ship's communication system without her touching any controls. Rodriguez's surprise was palpable as her words reached him. "Dr. Chen, how are you accessing our communications?" "The integration is complete, Captain. I can interface directly with any technology based on electromagnetic principles, which includes most of your ship's systems." Sarah could feel Rodriguez's fear spiking. From his perspective, she had just demonstrated an ability that could make her incredibly dangerous. She needed to reassure him before he made any decisions they would all regret. "Captain, I'm still me. Still Sarah Chen from Berkeley, California. I still remember my first day of graduate school. Still get homesick when I smell coffee brewing. The difference is that I now have access to the accumulated knowledge of the architect civilization." "Prove it," Rodriguez said, his hand moving toward his sidearm. Sarah sighed. The integration had given her access to Aeon's memories of dealing with countless species over the eons. Fear and suspicion were universal reactions to transcendence. Captain James Rodriguez, born in San Antonio, Texas, on March 15, 2387. You joined the Space Force because your grandfather was a pilot in the old Air Force. You have a daughter named Maria who just started her first year at MIT. You're afraid that if you don't get this crew home safely, you'll never see her graduate. Rodriguez's hand froze on his weapon. "How could you possibly know that?" "Because I can read your emotional patterns, Captain. Your fear isn't for yourself, it's for your crew and your family. It's admirable, actually, but unnecessary." Sarah decided to demonstrate her intentions rather than explain them. Using her new abilities, she began to repair and enhance the Prometheus's systems. The ship's aging fusion reactor suddenly operated at peak efficiency. Damaged components throughout the vessel regenerated themselves. The communication array, previously limited by distance and interference, now connected directly to Earth with crystal clarity. "What are you doing to my ship?" Rodriguez demanded. "Making it better, Captain. Making it capable of things your engineers never dreamed possible." Within minutes, real-time communication with Earth was established. The faces of mission control personnel appeared on the main screen, their expressions shifting from amazement to concern as they realized the implications. "Prometheus, this is Houston. We're reading massive improvements to your ship's capabilities. Please explain how this is possible." Rodriguez looked at Sarah, uncertainty clear in his expression. She nodded encouragingly. "Houston, we have successfully made contact with an alien intelligence. Dr. Chen has undergone a voluntary integration process that has given her access to advanced technology." The response from Earth was immediate and predictable. Government officials, military leaders, and scientists all began talking at once, their voices overlapping in a chaos of demands and questions. Sarah stepped forward, her enhanced voice cutting through the din. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen speaking. I understand your concerns, but right now we have more pressing matters to discuss. Our planet is in crisis. Using her new abilities, Sarah accessed Earth's global communication networks. The situation was worse than the initial reports had indicated. The coordinated attacks had triggered retaliations between nations. Nuclear weapons were being prepared for launch in several countries. Humanity was less than 12 hours away from destroying itself. "I can stop this," Sarah said quietly. "The architect technology includes systems that can disable nuclear weapons, prevent their detonation. But I need your permission to access Earth's defense networks." The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah could feel the weight of decision pressing down on everyone listening. To give her access to such systems would be an unprecedented act of trust. To refuse might mean the end of human civilization. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the mission director at Houston, finally spoke. "Dr. Chen, we need more information. What exactly did this integration process do to you? Are you still human?" Sarah considered the question carefully. "I am human, but I am also something more. I retain all my memories, my personality, my values. But I now have access to technology and knowledge that spans billions of years. I can see patterns in history, understand the cycles that lead to destruction or transcendence. And you believe humanity is approaching one of these decision points?" "I know we are. Every species faces this choice eventually. They can choose cooperation and growth, or they can choose conflict and extinction. Based on current trajectories, humanity has perhaps 6 hours before the choice is made for us." Another voice broke in, gruff and suspicious. This was General Morrison, head of Earth's Space Defense Force. "Dr. Chen, how do we know this isn't some form of alien mind control? How do we know you haven't been compromised?" Sarah felt a flash of frustration, but she understood his concerns. Trust was not easily given, especially in such circumstances. "General, ask me something only Sarah Chen would know. Test me." For the next several minutes they grilled her with personal questions, professional details, memories that only she could possess. With each correct answer, Sarah could feel some of the tension easing. Finally, Dr. Webb spoke up from beside her. "She's still Sarah. I've known her for 8 years, worked with her on dozens of projects. The mannerisms, the way she thinks through problems, even her terrible jokes about quantum mechanics, this is still our Sarah. But with alien technology integrated into her biology," General Morrison pointed out. "Yes," Sarah admitted, "and that technology is the only thing that can save humanity right now." As if to underscore her point, alarm klaxons began sounding from the Earth Communication Center. An aide rushed to Dr. Vasquez and whispered urgently in her ear. "Dr. Chen," Vasquez said, her face pale. "We've just received confirmation that 3 nations have authorized nuclear launches. The first missiles will reach their targets in 90 minutes. Sarah closed her eyes and reached out with her enhanced senses, feeling the electromagnetic signatures of the missiles as they left their silos. Each one represented thousands of lives that would be lost, millions more that would die in the retaliation that would surely follow. "I can stop them," she said simply, "but I need your authorization to access Earth's defense networks." The debate that followed was intense but brief. Time was running out and the alternative to trusting Sarah was unthinkable. "Dr. Chen," Dr. Vasquez said finally, "you have authorization from Mission Control. God help us all, but you have authorization." Sarah smiled for the first time since the integration began. "Thank you. I promise you won't regret this decision." She reached out with her consciousness, her enhanced abilities allowing her to interface directly with satellites orbiting Earth. From there, she accessed the global defense network, her architect knowledge guiding her through security systems that had been designed to be impenetrable. Within moments, she had located every nuclear weapon currently in flight. The technology to disable them was elegant in its simplicity. A focused electromagnetic pulse that would disrupt their guidance systems and render their warheads inert. "Missiles disabled," she reported. "All nuclear weapons currently in flight have been rendered harmless. They will fall into the ocean or unpopulated areas." The relief in the voices from Earth was palpable, but Sarah knew this was only the beginning. Stopping one round of nuclear weapons wouldn't prevent the underlying conflicts that had triggered them. "Now," she said, "we need to address the root causes of this crisis, and for that, I'm going to need to come home." The chamber Aeon led Sarah to was unlike anything she had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with soft, warm light. In the center stood what could only be described as an altar, though it was clearly made from the same flowing metal as the rest of the structure. This is where the joining will take place, Aeon explained, its voice now coming directly into Sarah's mind rather than through the ship's communication system. The chamber will analyze your biological and neurological patterns, then begin the integration process. Sarah's hands trembled as she approached the altar. What exactly will happen to me during this process? First, you will experience what you might call a download of my memories and knowledge. This will be overwhelming at first, like trying to drink from a waterfall. Your human brain will need to adapt and expand to accommodate the information. Will it hurt? Pain is a crude term for what you will experience. It will be intense, transformative. You will feel as though you are dying and being reborn simultaneously, because in a sense you will be. Sarah placed her hand on the altar's surface. It was warm to the touch and seemed to respond to her presence, sending gentle pulses of energy through her fingers. And after the knowledge transfer, then comes the physical transformation. Your DNA will be rewritten at the cellular level. You will gain abilities that no human has ever possessed. Enhanced strength, telepathic capabilities, the ability to interface directly with technology, and most importantly, an extended lifespan that will allow you to guide humanity for millennia to come. The weight of responsibility was staggering. Sarah thought about her parents back on Earth, about the research projects she would never complete, about the normal life she was giving up forever. Aeon, what were you like before you became what you are now? The ancient being was quiet for a long moment. When it spoke, there was a wistfulness in its mental voice that Sarah had never heard before. I was young once, curious about the universe, in love with a member of my species named Kithara. We explored distant galaxies together, discovered new forms of life, created art that spanned solar systems. We were happy. What happened to Kithara?
She chose transcendence before I did.
She became pure consciousness untethered from physical form. I followed her because I could not bear to be apart. But transcendence changed us. We became perfect, but we lost our capacity for growth, for surprise, for the simple joy of discovery. Sarah felt a tear run down her cheek. Do you regret it? Every day for the past billion years. That is why this moment is so important, Sarah. You will not make the same mistake we did. You will retain your humanity while gaining our knowledge. You will be the bridge between what we were and what you could become. The chamber around them began to change, the crystal walls shifting to create a more intimate space, the lighting dimmed to a soft golden glow that reminded Sarah of sunset on Earth. The process must begin now, Aeon said. My life force is almost depleted. Are you ready? Sarah nodded, though her heart was racing with fear and anticipation. What do I need to do? Remove your clothing. The integration requires complete physical contact between us. Sarah's cheeks burned, but she understood the necessity. This wasn't about human concepts of intimacy or embarrassment. This was about survival, about the future of her entire species. With shaking hands, she began to undress. As she did, Aeon's form began to solidify, becoming more human-like in appearance. Sarah realized the being was adapting its physical manifestation to make the process easier for her. You don't have to change yourself for me, she said softly. This is not just for you. This is my true form, or as close to it as I can remember. Before transcendence, before we became beings of pure energy, we were not so different from humans. Indeed, as Aeon's form stabilized, Sarah could see the resemblance, tall and graceful, with features that were both alien and familiar. The being's skin had a slight luminescence, and its eyes held depths that spoke of eons of experience. Sarah stepped onto the altar, feeling the warm metal conform to support her body. Aeon moved to join her, its form becoming more solid with each passing moment. Sarah, Aeon said, its voice now audible rather than telepathic. I want you to know that what we are about to do is sacred to my people. It is not taken lightly. I understand, Sarah replied, though she wasn't sure she truly did. Aeon's hands touched her face gently, and immediately Sarah felt a tingling sensation that spread throughout her body. It wasn't unpleasant, more like the feeling of coming inside from the cold and warming up by a fire. The first phase begins now, Aeon whispered. Try to relax and let it happen. The tingling intensified, and Sarah felt as though electricity was flowing through her veins. Her vision began to blur, and she saw flashes of images that weren't her own memories, vast cities floating in space, creatures of impossible beauty swimming through seas of liquid diamond, technologies that could reshape matter with a thought. I'm seeing your memories, she gasped. Yes, this is how the transfer begins. You must experience our history to understand our knowledge. The images came faster now, overwhelming her senses. Sarah saw the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, the delicate process of seeding life on countless worlds. She experienced joy and sorrow on a cosmic scale, love affairs that lasted millennia, discoveries that revolutionized entire galactic clusters. Through it all, Aeon's presence was a steady anchor, guiding her through the storm of information. Its hands never left her face, and she could feel its consciousness intertwining with her own. The memories are just the beginning, Aeon explained as the visions began to slow. Now comes the knowledge itself. The science, the technology, the wisdom we accumulated over billions of years. Sarah's mind felt like it was expanding, stretching to accommodate concepts that human language had no words for. She understood the fundamental forces that bound the universe together, saw mathematical relationships that described the very nature of reality. But along with the knowledge came something else. Love. Not romantic love, though there was an element of that, but something deeper, a love for life itself, for the endless possibilities of consciousness and growth. Aeon, she whispered, her voice hoarse with emotion. I can feel what you feel. The loneliness, the regret, but also the hope. Yes, you are beginning to understand why this matters so much. You are not just receiving knowledge, Sarah. You are inheriting a responsibility that has been mine alone for eons. The transformation was accelerating now. Sarah could feel her body changing at the cellular level, her DNA rewriting itself according to patterns laid down by the architects billions of years ago. It should have been painful, but instead it felt like coming home. The final phase, Aeon said, its voice filled with both joy and sadness. This is where we truly become one. Aeon's form pressed against hers, and Sarah felt a connection deeper than anything she had ever experienced. It was as though every barrier between them dissolved, every secret shared, every fear and hope laid bare. In that moment of ultimate intimacy, Sarah understood what the architects had truly been. Not just an advanced species, but gardeners of consciousness itself. They had devoted their existence to nurturing life and intelligence throughout the galaxy, always hoping that one day their successors would surpass them. Now you know, Aeon whispered as the process reached its climax. Now you understand what you must do? Sarah felt Aeon's consciousness flowing into her, merging with her own thoughts and memories. But rather than overwhelming her humanity, it enhanced it. She was still Sarah Chen, but she was also something more, something unprecedented in the history of the galaxy. Sarah felt her cheeks burn at Aeon's words. The alien being seemed to sense her discomfort and quickly continued. I understand this is difficult for your species to comprehend. Physical intimacy for architects is not merely biological. It is the ultimate form of communication, a complete sharing of everything we are. Without this connection, the knowledge transfer would be incomplete, possibly fatal for both of us. Sarah struggled to process what she was hearing. Everything she had learned about first contact protocols suggested maintaining professional distance. But here was an ancient being offering humanity the secrets of the universe, and the price was something that went against every scientific principle she had been taught. I need time to think, she said finally. Of course. But Sarah, you must understand the urgency. My life force is fading rapidly. I estimate perhaps 18 of your hours before the deterioration becomes irreversible. Sarah returned to the Prometheus with her mind spinning. She found Captain Rodriguez in his quarters, staring at reports from Earth. Communications with home took several hours each way at this distance, but Mission Control was demanding constant updates. Captain, I need to speak with you privately, Sarah said. Rodriguez gestured for her to sit. He was a good man, someone who had earned his position through decades of experience in deep space missions. But nothing in his training had prepared him for this situation. Sarah explained everything Aeon had told her, watching Rodriguez's expression change from curiosity to shock to something approaching horror. Dr. Chen, you cannot seriously be considering this, he said when she finished. We're talking about an irreversible procedure with an alien entity. The risks are incalculable. But so are the potential benefits, Captain. We're talking about technology that could solve every major problem facing humanity. Clean energy, faster than light travel, the ability to terraform dead worlds, medical advances that could eliminate disease and extend human lifespan indefinitely. Rodriguez stood and began pacing. Even if everything this being claims is true, how do we know its intentions are benevolent? For all we know, this could be an elaborate form of invasion. You could become a vessel for alien consciousness. Aeon has had countless opportunities to harm us already. This entire structure could have destroyed our ship the moment we arrived. Instead, it's offering us a choice. A choice that conveniently requires you to submit to an intimate encounter with an alien being. Forgive me, Doctor, but this sounds like the setup for every bad science fiction story ever written. Sarah had to admit he had a point, but she had spent days talking with Aeon, learning about architect civilization and their genuine desire to preserve life throughout the galaxy. There was something in the ancient being's manner, a sadness and loneliness that spoke to her on a fundamental level. Captain, what if we're wrong to refuse? What if this is humanity's one chance to transcend our limitations and become something greater? And what if you're wrong to accept? What if this destroys you and potentially endangers everyone else on this ship? Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Webb, who knocked urgently on the cabin door. Captain, you need to see this. We're detecting massive energy fluctuations from the alien structure. Something's happening. They rushed to the observation deck where the rest of the crew had gathered. Through the transparent aluminum viewports, they could see Aeon's massive construct beginning to dim. Sections that had been brightly lit were now going dark, and the flowing metal surface was becoming rigid and lifeless. It's dying, Sarah whispered. Just like Aeon said it would. Dr. Tanaka was working frantically at a console trying to establish communication. The signal's getting weaker. Whatever process sustains this place, it's shutting down. As if summoned by their concern, Aeon's image appeared on the main screen. But the being looked dramatically different now. Its form was fragmenting, becoming translucent and unstable. Sarah, Aeon's voice was barely audible through the static. Time grows short. The bio-neural matrix that sustains me is failing. Soon I will be unable to complete the transfer process. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. Aeon, we appreciate everything you've shown us, but we cannot ask Dr. Chen to sacrifice herself for knowledge that might not even work. Aeon's attention focused on the captain, and for a moment its form stabilized. Captain Rodriguez, I understand your concerns. They do you credit as a leader. But consider this. Your species stands at the same crossroads my people faced eons ago. We chose knowledge and growth over fear and isolation. That choice allowed us to flourish for billions of years. Until you died out, Rodriguez pointed out. We did not die out, Captain. We evolved beyond the need for physical form. But in doing so, we lost something essential. The ability to create, to grow, to change. We became perfect and immortal, but also sterile. That is why we seeded the galaxy with life. We hoped to create successors who could surpass us. Sarah felt tears running down her cheeks as she watched the ancient being struggle to maintain coherence. Aeon, if I agree to this, what guarantee do I have that I'll still be me? None, Aeon replied honestly. You will become something new. But Sarah, is that not what growth is? Every day you are different from who you were the day before. Every experience changes you. This would simply be a larger change. Dr. Webb spoke up from his position at the science station. The energy readings are dropping exponentially. At this rate, the entire structure will go dark within 6 hours. Sarah looked around at her colleagues, these brave people who had traveled so far from home in the name of scientific discovery. She thought about Earth, about all the problems humanity faced, all the potential that remained unrealized. Captain, she said quietly, I'm going to do it. Dr. Chen, I cannot allow you to risk your life on the word of an alien being, no matter how advanced. With respect, Captain, this isn't a military decision. It's a scientific one. And as the senior biochemist on this mission, I'm uniquely qualified to make it. Before Rodriguez could respond, the ship's communication system crackled to life with an incoming message from Earth. The time delay meant the message was several hours old, but the content made everyone freeze. This is mission control to Prometheus. We've detected massive seismic activity on Earth. Preliminary reports suggest coordinated terrorist attacks on major cities worldwide. Casualties are in the millions. Social order is beginning to break down in several regions. The message continued with more details of the crisis, but Sarah had stopped listening. She looked at Aeon's fading image on the screen. You knew this was going to happen, didn't you? Aeon's expression was infinitely sad. I hoped I was wrong. But yes, I have seen the patterns before. Your species is approaching a critical decision point. You can choose cooperation and growth, or you can choose conflict and decline. And you think your knowledge could help prevent this? I know it could, but only if there is someone capable of using it wisely. Sarah closed her eyes and made her decision. When she opened them, her resolve was absolute. Captain Rodriguez, I am formally requesting permission to undergo the integration process with Aeon. Permission denied. Doctor? Then I'm resigning my commission and acting as a private citizen. Sarah turned to face Aeon's image. I accept your offer. Tell me what I need to do. Dr. Sarah Chen pressed her face against the cold metal of the observation deck window, watching Earth shrink to a pale blue dot behind them. The research vessel Prometheus had been her home for 3 months now, carrying a team of 12 scientists toward the edge of known space. Their mission was simple in theory: investigate the mysterious energy readings coming from the Kepler 442 system. In practice, it was humanity's boldest leap into the unknown. Still thinking about home? Asked Dr. Marcus Webb, the team's xenobiologist, as he joined her at the window. Sarah nodded, pulling her lab coat tighter around herself. Just wondering if we'll ever see it again. These readings we're chasing, they're not natural, Marcus. Something out there is broadcasting a signal that's been traveling for over 1,000 years. The signal had been discovered by accident during a routine deep space scan. It contained mathematical sequences, prime numbers, and what appeared to be star charts. But buried within the data was something that made every scientist on Earth take notice. Biological markers, DNA sequences, protein structures. Someone or something was sending detailed information about life itself across the galaxy. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over the intercom. All crew to stations. We're approaching the edge of the system. Whatever's been sending that signal, we're about to meet it face to face. Sarah's heart raced as she hurried to the main laboratory. Through the ship's cameras, she could see a massive structure floating in the void ahead. It wasn't a planet or a moon, but something clearly artificial. The object was roughly spherical, about the size of Earth's moon, with a surface that seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury. My God, whispered Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the team's linguist. It's beautiful. As they drew closer, the structure began to change. Sections of its surface peeled away like flower petals, revealing a hollow interior filled with swirling lights. Without warning, a tractor beam locked onto their ship, drawing them inside with gentle but irresistible force. The Prometheus touched down on what appeared to be a landing platform, made of the same flowing metal as the exterior. The air outside registered as breathable, with perfect temperature and humidity. It was as if the structure had analyzed their ship and created an environment specifically for them. This is First Contact Protocol, Captain Rodriguez announced. Nobody leaves the ship without full protective gear. We don't know what we're dealing with. But as the crew prepared for their first EVA, the ship's communication system activated on its own. The screen filled with swirling patterns that gradually resolved into a humanoid figure. It was tall and elegant, with features that seemed to shift between male and female, young and old, as if it couldn't decide what form to take. Welcome, children of Earth, the being said in perfect English, though its mouth didn't move. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. I have been waiting so very long for you to find me. Sarah found herself chosen as the primary contact. Her expertise in biochemistry, making her the logical choice to communicate with an unknown alien intelligence. The being, who called itself Aeon, explained that it was the last survivor of a race called the Architects. We were ancient when your son was young, Aeon told her during their first real conversation. We seeded life throughout the galaxy, watching and waiting for it to develop intelligence. Humans are our most successful creation. The revelation hit Sarah like a physical blow. You're saying you created us? Not created, guided, enhanced. Your species had the potential, but we helped unlock it. We gave you curiosity, creativity, the ability to love and dream and reach for the stars. We made you in our image, and now you are all that remains of our legacy. Over the following days, Aeon showed Sarah wonders beyond imagination. The structure they were in was both a ship and a city, capable of traveling between dimensions and reshaping matter at the molecular level. It contained the accumulated knowledge of 1 billion years of civilization. But there was something else. Something Aeon seemed reluctant to discuss. Sarah noticed that the being's form was becoming less stable, sometimes flickering like a bad hologram. When she asked about it, Aeon's expression grew sad. I am dying, Sarah Chen. My people's technology can extend life far beyond its natural span, but not indefinitely. I have perhaps days left, maybe hours, and when I die, all of this dies with me. There must be something we can do, Sarah said desperately. Some way to preserve your knowledge, your culture. Aeon was quiet for a long moment. When it finally spoke, its voice was barely a whisper. There is one way, but it would require a sacrifice from you that I cannot ask. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of sacrifice? My people's essence, our consciousness, can be preserved through a process your scientists would call genetic integration. But it requires a willing host, someone whose DNA is compatible. The process would change you fundamentally. You would become something new, something between human and architect. The weight of the decision pressed down on Sarah like a physical force. To save the knowledge of an ancient civilization, she would have to give up her humanity. But if she refused, billions of years of wisdom would die with Aeon. How long do I have to decide? She asked. Aeon's form flickered again, becoming even more translucent. Not long. My people believed in choice above all else. I will not force this upon you. But I must tell you this. If you choose to help me, you will become something unprecedented in the galaxy. A bridge between species, the first of a new kind of being. Sarah looked back toward the Prometheus where her fellow humans waited. She thought of Earth, of everyone she would be leaving behind if she went through with this. But she also thought of all the knowledge that would be lost, all the secrets of the universe that would die with Aeon. As if reading her thoughts, Aeon spoke again. I know this is difficult, but consider this. Your species stands at a crossroads. You have the potential to become something magnificent, to spread life and knowledge throughout the galaxy as my people once did. Or you could follow the path of destruction that so many species choose. What do you mean? Wars, Sarah, resource depletion, climate destruction. I have seen it happen to countless civilizations. But with our knowledge, with our technology, humanity could avoid those pitfalls. You could become the gardeners of the galaxy, the protectors of life itself. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the weight of her entire species' future on her shoulders. When she opened them again, her decision was made. What exactly would this process involve? She asked, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. Aeon's expression was unreadable. I must be completely honest with you, Sarah Chen. The integration process is irreversible. You would gain abilities beyond human comprehension, knowledge spanning eons, but you would no longer be purely human. And there is something else you must know. Sarah waited, her heart pounding. The process requires more than just genetic compatibility. It requires a deep emotional and spiritual connection between us. In your terms, it would be like making love, but not just physical. A joining of minds, souls, consciousness itself. The journey back to Earth took only 3 days, though by conventional travel it should have taken months. Sarah had enhanced the Prometheus's drive systems using architect technology, creating a localized distortion in spacetime that allowed them to cover vast distances in mere hours. During the trip, she worked tirelessly to address the crisis unfolding on Earth. Using her connection to global communication networks, she began broadcasting calming frequencies designed to reduce aggression and promote rational thinking. It was subtle, nothing that would override free will, but it helped create an atmosphere where diplomacy could flourish over violence. She also began sharing selected pieces of architect technology with Earth scientists. Clean energy solutions that could end the resource conflicts driving much of the current warfare. Medical advances that could eliminate the diseases causing suffering in developing nations. Agricultural techniques that could feed the growing population without destroying the environment. But not everyone was pleased with her interventions, Dr. Chen, came the stern voice of President Harrison during one of their daily briefings. While we appreciate your efforts to prevent nuclear war, there are concerns about your methods. Sarah was floating in the enhanced meditation chamber she had created aboard the Prometheus. Her consciousness extended across multiple star systems simultaneously. She could feel the president's frustration and fear, along with similar emotions from leaders around the world. What specific concerns, Mr. President? Your ability to access any computer system on Earth, for one. Our cybersecurity experts tell us that nothing is secure from your intrusion. That makes a lot of people very nervous. Sarah understood the concern. From their perspective, she had become a being with godlike power over their technology-dependent civilization. No government, no military, no corporation could keep secrets from her if she chose to look. I haven't accessed any systems without permission except to prevent nuclear war, she said. I respect the privacy and sovereignty of Earth's nations. But you could, couldn't you? If you wanted to, you could shut down our power grids, crash our economies, disable our defenses. Yes, Sarah admitted. I could. But I won't. My purpose is to help humanity transcend its limitations, not to rule over it. The conversation continued for another hour, with various world leaders expressing their concerns and demands. Some wanted her to share all architect technology immediately. Others wanted her to submit to extensive testing to ensure she wasn't a threat. A few even suggested that she should be detained or eliminated as a potential danger to human autonomy. Sarah listened to it all with the patience that eons of aeons memories had given her. She had seen this pattern before, on countless worlds with countless species. The transition period was always difficult, as individuals and societies struggled to adapt to new possibilities. When the Prometheus finally entered Earth's orbit, Sarah was amazed by how different her home planet looked through her enhanced vision. She could see the energy flows of the biosphere, the delicate balance of life that made Earth so precious in the galaxy. She could also see the damage, the pollution, the ecological destruction, the scars left by centuries of industrial civilization. But more than that, she could see the potential. Humanity was on the verge of something magnificent. They just needed guidance to avoid the pitfalls that had destroyed so many other species. The landing at Kennedy Space Center was carefully orchestrated. Sarah had agreed to meet with a joint committee of scientists, government officials, and military leaders. The goal was to establish protocols for how her enhanced capabilities would be used going forward. As she walked down the ramp of the Prometheus, Sarah felt the full weight of Earth's gravity for the first time since her transformation. Her enhanced physiology adapted automatically, but the sensation reminded her that she was truly home. Waiting for her was a delegation led by Dr. Vasquez, along with General Morrison and several other officials she recognized from the communications during their journey. But it was the sight of her parents, standing at the edge of the cordoned area, that nearly brought her to tears. David and Margaret Chen had aged visibly in the months since Sarah had left Earth. The stress of their daughter's dangerous mission, followed by the global crisis and her transformation, had taken its toll, but their eyes still held the same love and support that had carried her through graduate school and into her career. "Mom, Dad," Sarah said, her enhanced voice carrying easily across the distance. "I'm still your daughter." Margaret Chen stepped forward, her maternal instincts overriding any fear of what Sarah had become. "Then come here and prove it." Sarah crossed the distance between them in seconds, moving faster than any human could, but she forced herself to slow as she approached her parents. When Margaret's arms wrapped around her, Sarah felt a connection that went beyond the telepathic abilities granted by her transformation. This was the bond of family, of unconditional love that no technology could replicate or replace. "You feel different," Margaret whispered. "Warmer, like there's more of you than there used to be." "There is, Mom, but I'm still me." David Chen, ever the pragmatist, pulled back to study his daughter's face. "The eyes are different. More depth to them. But yes, this is still our Sarah." The reunion was cut short by Dr. Vasquez, who approached with obvious reluctance. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation developing. Several nations are demanding immediate access to the technologies you've demonstrated. There are threats of military action if their demands aren't met." Sarah sighed. She had hoped for more time to ease humanity into the changes that were coming. But crisis always seemed to accelerate the timeline. What specifically are they demanding? Everything. The propulsion technology that brought you home so quickly. The energy systems you used to enhance the Prometheus. The weapons disable capabilities you demonstrated. Some are even demanding access to the medical advances you mentioned. Sarah could feel the tensions rising around the world. Nations that had been on the brink of war just days ago were now forming new alliances based on who might gain access to architect technology first. The same competitive instincts that had nearly destroyed humanity were now focused on her. "Dr. Vasquez," Sarah said carefully, "I think it's time for a more public approach. Humanity needs to understand what's really at stake here." "What do you mean?" "I mean it's time for me to address the world directly, not through government channels or diplomatic intermediaries. Every human being needs to hear what I have to say." General Morrison stepped forward, his expression stern. Dr. Chen, we cannot allow you to have unrestricted access to global communication networks. The security implications alone— General, Sarah interrupted gently, you cannot stop me from having that access. I'm not asking for permission. I'm informing you of my intentions as a courtesy. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut. Sarah could feel dozens of military personnel surrounding the landing area, their weapons trained on her despite the futility of such measures. She could also sense the fear radiating from the assembled officials. I understand your concerns, she continued. You're afraid that I've been compromised by alien influence. You're worried that I might use my abilities to impose my will on humanity. These are reasonable fears, she paused, gathering her thoughts and drawing on Aeon's memories of similar situations across the galaxy. But consider this. If I wanted to control humanity, I could have done so already. I could shut down your power grids, disable your weapons, crash your economies. Instead, I've only used my abilities to prevent nuclear war and offer beneficial technologies. Dr. Vasquez nodded slowly. What exactly do you want to tell the world, Sarah? The truth. About what humanity could become. About the choice we're facing. About the incredible future that awaits us if we can set aside our fears and work together. Sarah looked up at the blue sky of Earth, knowing that billions of people were watching news reports about her return, speculating about what her transformation meant for the future of the human species. It's time for humanity to join the galactic community, she said. But first, we need to prove that we're ready for that responsibility. As if responding to her words, every communication device on Earth suddenly activated simultaneously. Television screens, radio broadcasts, internet connections, even emergency alert systems all began carrying the same signal. Sarah's image appeared on every screen, her enhanced features visible to every human being on the planet. People of Earth, she began, her voice carrying across every language barrier through the translation capabilities of the architect technology. My name is Sarah Chen. I have something important to tell you about our future. The reaction to Sarah's global broadcast was immediate and intense. Within hours, demonstrations erupted in major cities worldwide. Some hailed her as humanity's savior, while others denounced her as an alien threat. Religious leaders declared everything from the Second Coming to the end times. Politicians scrambled to position themselves either for or against the changes she represented. But perhaps the most significant response came from the scientific community. Researchers around the world began independently verifying the technologies Sarah had shared, confirming that they worked exactly as promised. Clean fusion reactors that produced no radioactive waste, medical nanobots that could repair cellular damage at the molecular level, agricultural systems that could grow food in any environment while actually improving soil quality. Sarah watched it all unfold from the secure facility where she had agreed to stay while world leaders debated humanity's response to her offer. She could have left at any time, of course. No prison built by human technology could hold her now. But she understood the need for her presence to be seen as voluntary cooperation rather than imposed superiority. Dr. Webb visited her daily, serving as both friend and scientific liaison. On the 5th day after her broadcast, he brought disturbing news. Sarah were getting reports of violence breaking out in several countries. Groups claiming to represent pure humanity are attacking anyone who supports cooperation with you. They're calling you an abomination, a threat to human genetic integrity. Sarah felt a familiar sadness wash over her. Aeon's memories contained similar scenes from dozens of worlds where fear had overcome wisdom. How bad is it, Marcus? 17 dead in Berlin. Riots in Lagos. The President of the United States is under pressure to declare you a threat to national security. Webb sat down heavily in the chair across from her. I don't understand it, Sarah. You're offering solutions to every major problem facing humanity. Why are so many people afraid? Sarah stood and walked to the window, looking out at the protesters gathered outside the facility. She could feel their emotions, fear, anger, confusion, but also hope in some cases. Because change is terrifying, Marcus. These people look at me and see the end of everything they understand about what it means to be human. They're not entirely wrong. What do you mean? The technologies I'm offering will fundamentally alter human society. When people can live for thousands of years, when diseases become obsolete, when scarcity ends because we can synthesize any material we need, that's not just technological advancement. That's evolution. Webb was quiet for a moment. And some people would rather die as humans than live as something more? Yes, it's happened before, Marcus. The architects encountered dozens of species that chose extinction over transcendence. They convinced themselves that purity of form was more important than continuation of consciousness. Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Vasquez, who entered with an urgent expression. Sarah, we need your help. The situation in the Middle East has escalated. 3 nations are mobilizing their militaries. They're claiming that other countries' acceptance of your technologies represents an existential threat to their sovereignty. Sarah closed her eyes and extended her consciousness across the globe, feeling the patterns of fear and aggression building toward another crisis point. It's going to be another nuclear incident, isn't it? Intelligence suggests that if military action begins, some groups might resort to nuclear terrorism rather than conventional warfare. They figure if they can't stop the technological advancement, they'll destroy the infrastructure that makes it possible. Sarah made her decision. Elena, I need to meet with the world leaders directly. Not through video conferences or diplomatic channels. Face to face, that's impossible. The security concerns alone are irrelevant. I can protect myself, and more importantly, I can protect them. It's time for humanity's leaders to see what their choices really mean. Before Dr. Vasquez could object, Sarah simply vanished. Her enhanced physiology allowed her to manipulate electromagnetic fields around her body, rendering her effectively invisible to most detection methods. She could move at speeds that made her appear to teleport from place to place. Her first stop was the United Nations building in New York, where an emergency session was already in progress. Sarah materialized in the center of the General Assembly, causing immediate chaos as security personnel rushed toward her. Please, she said, her voice carrying easily through the large chamber without amplification. I'm not here to threaten anyone. I'm here to offer clarity. The Secretary General, a composed woman named Dr. Amara Okafor, managed to restore order after several tense minutes. Dr. Chen, your presence here is highly irregular. We were not prepared for this meeting. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but time is short. Within the next few hours, decisions will be made that determine whether humanity embraces its potential or destroys itself out of fear. Sarah looked around the assembly, making eye contact with representatives from every nation on Earth. She could feel their emotions: suspicion, curiosity, terror, hope, all swirling together in a complex web of human feeling. I want to show you something, she said. With your permission, I'd like to share a vision of what humanity could become. What kind of vision? Asked the representative from China, his voice wary. The truth. Not words or promises, but actual experience. I can temporarily enhance your neural patterns, allow you to see the universe as I see it now. You would understand exactly what the architect technology offers and what it would cost. The debate that followed was heated. Some delegates refused outright, fearing that Sarah was attempting some form of mind control. Others demanded guarantees that the process would be reversible. A few brave souls volunteered immediately. Finally, Dr. Okafor made the decision. Dr. Chen, I will volunteer for this enhancement, but I want medical monitoring throughout the process. Sarah nodded. Of course. The effect will last approximately 1 hour, just long enough for you to understand what's at stake. She placed her hand gently on Dr. Okafor's forehead, and immediately the Secretary General's eyes went wide with wonder. Sarah was sharing just a fraction of her enhanced perception, but it was enough to show the interconnectedness of all life on Earth, the delicate balance that made their planet so precious in the cosmos. My God, Dr. Okafor whispered. I can see everything is connected. Every living thing, every ecosystem, all part of one vast web of consciousness. That's just the beginning, Sarah said softly. Now look up. Dr. Okafor's enhanced vision turned toward the stars and she gasped. She could see the energy signatures of thousands of inhabited worlds, the vast network of intelligence that spanned the galaxy. She could also see the dark spots where civilizations had once thrived but were now extinct, victims of their own fear and aggression. So many, Dr. Okafor breathed. So many worlds with life, and so many that are empty. The universe is full of intelligence, Dr. Okafor, but it's also full of graveyards, worlds where species chose fear over growth, where they destroyed themselves rather than accept change. The hour passed quickly, and as the enhancement faded, Dr. Okafor sat in stunned silence. When she finally spoke, her voice carried new authority. "Colleagues," she said to the assembly, "what Dr. Chen offers is not a threat to humanity. It's an invitation to join something magnificent. I have seen what we could become, and it is beautiful beyond description." But not everyone was convinced. The representative from the American Federation stood up, his face flushed with anger. "This is exactly what we feared. Dr. Chen has demonstrated the ability to alter human consciousness at will. How do we know that Secretary General Okafor is expressing her own thoughts and not alien programming?" Sarah felt a flash of frustration, but forced herself to remain calm. "Because, Congressman Martinez, I am not interested in controlling human minds. What would be the point? A universe full of puppets dancing to my will would be empty and meaningless." "Then what do you want?" he demanded. "I want humanity to survive. I want you to grow and evolve and spread life throughout the galaxy. I want you to become the gardeners of consciousness that my predecessors once were." Sarah gestured toward the windows of the assembly hall, where Earth turned peacefully in the void. "Your planet is dying, Congressman. Climate change, resource depletion, overpopulation, political instability. Without intervention, human civilization has perhaps 50 years before it collapses entirely. I'm offering you the tools to not only survive but thrive for millions of years." "At what cost?" Martinez shot back. "Our humanity? Our free will? Our right to determine our own destiny? At the cost of your limitations," Sarah replied. "Your short lifespans, your vulnerability to disease, your dependence on a single fragile planet. But your humanity, your consciousness, your capacity for growth and love and wonder, those things would not only survive but flourish." The debate continued for hours, but Sarah could sense the tide of opinion slowly shifting. Dr. Okafor's testimony, combined with the mounting evidence of the technology's benefits, was gradually overcoming fear with hope. As the session finally adjourned, Sarah made one final appeal. "I understand your concerns, truly I do, but I ask you to remember this. Throughout human history, every great advancement has been met with fear and resistance." 6 months later, Sarah stood on the observation deck of humanity's first interstellar colony ship, watching Earth recede behind them. The New Horizon was a marvel of human and architect technology combined, capable of carrying 50,000 colonists to the Proxima Centauri system in just 3 years. The decision had not been easy. The global referendum on accepting Sarah's offer had taken weeks of debate, with the final vote split almost evenly. 52% of humanity had chosen to embrace transcendence, while 48% had opted to remain on Earth with traditional human biology. It had been heartbreaking to see families divided by the choice. Sarah's own parents had chosen differently, with her mother accepting enhancement while her father remained on Earth to continue his research in pure human medicine. But they had parted with love and understanding, knowing that both paths were valid expressions of human freedom. The enhanced humans were virtually immortal now, their bodies capable of self-repair and adaptation to any environment. They could communicate telepathically across vast distances, interface directly with technology, and perceive the universe in ways that defied description. Most importantly, they retained their essential humanity while gaining abilities that previous generations could only dream of. Those who remained on Earth were not abandoned. Sarah had left behind technologies that would solve their immediate problems: clean energy, advanced medicine, sustainable agriculture. But the more transformative technologies, the ones that would fundamentally alter human nature, were reserved for those who chose enhancement. "Regrets?" asked Dr. Webb, joining Sarah at the observation window. Like most of the enhanced humans, he looked essentially unchanged from his baseline human appearance, though his eyes now held the same golden flecks that marked all who had undergone the transformation. "Some," Sarah admitted. "I wish we could have found a way to bring everyone together. Aeon's memories show that divided species rarely survive in the long term." "But maybe that's the point," Webb suggested. "Maybe the division itself is part of the evolution. The baseline humans on Earth represent humanity's past while we represent its future. Both are necessary." Sarah nodded, though she still felt the weight of responsibility for every choice that had led to this moment. Through her enhanced senses, she could feel the emotions of every person aboard the New Horizon: excitement for the journey ahead, sadness for what they had left behind, hope for what they might become. The ship itself was a testament to what humans could achieve when they transcended their limitations. Its hull was grown rather than built, a living metal that could repair itself and adapt to changing conditions. Its engines bent space-time around them, allowing faster-than-light travel without violating the laws of physics. Its life support systems were so advanced that they actually improved the health of everyone aboard, rather than simply sustaining it. "Contact from Earth," announced Captain Torres, the ship's enhanced commander. Like all the enhanced humans, she could interface directly with the ship's systems, making traditional bridge operations obsolete. The communication came through clearly despite the growing distance. It was President Harrison, speaking from the rebuilt United Nations headquarters. "New Horizon, this is Earth Control. We're receiving reports of unusual energy signatures from the Kepler 442 system, where you first encountered the architect entity. Our deep space telescopes are detecting massive construction activity." Sarah felt a chill run through her enhanced nervous system. She reached out with her consciousness, extending her perception toward the distant system where she had first met Aeon. What she found there made her gasp in amazement. "Marcus," she said urgently, "you need to see this." Using her abilities, Sarah projected what she was perceiving onto the ship's main display. The structure where she had undergone her transformation was gone, replaced by something far more magnificent. A vast network of interconnected habitats stretched across the entire star system, each one designed to support different forms of life. "It's a galactic refuge," Sarah breathed. "Aeon, the architects, they're not extinct. They're still out there, still working to preserve life throughout the galaxy." The implications were staggering. Sarah's transformation hadn't just saved humanity. It had awakened something that had been dormant for eons. The architects had been waiting, watching, hoping that someone would prove worthy of carrying on their work. "We're receiving a transmission," Captain Torres reported. It's in the same format as the original signal that brought us to Kepler 442. The message, when decoded, was simple but profound. "Welcome to the galactic community. Children of Earth, your journey of transcendence has begun. Come to us when you are ready to learn your true purpose." Sarah closed her eyes and reached out across the vast distances between stars. Feeling the presence of ancient minds that had guided the evolution of consciousness throughout the galaxy, she was no longer alone in her responsibility. She was part of something larger, older, and more magnificent than she had ever imagined. "Set course for Kepler 442, she told Captain Torres. "The colonization of Proxima Centauri can wait. We have more important work to do." As the New Horizon changed course toward its new destination, Sarah felt a presence in her mind that she recognized. Aeon's consciousness, still preserved within her enhanced neural patterns, stirred to life. "Well done, my child," the ancient voice whispered. "You have proven worthy of the legacy we offer. But remember, this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, and there are countless species waiting for guidance toward transcendence." Sarah smiled, feeling the weight of eons settling comfortably on her shoulders. She thought of Earth, of the baseline humans who had chosen to remain behind and made a silent promise. Someday, when they were ready, she would return to offer them the same choice she had been given. But for now, humanity's enhanced children had work to do. Stars to explore, life to nurture, consciousness to spread throughout the cosmos. They were no longer just human. They were gardeners of the galaxy, inheritors of a responsibility that spanned geological ages. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and humanity had finally taken its first step toward claiming its place among the stars. Sarah Chen, once a simple biochemist from Earth, was now something unprecedented, a bridge between what humanity had been and what it could become. As the New Horizon accelerated toward its rendezvous with destiny, Sarah felt the presence of millions of enhanced humans throughout the ship, their consciousness linked in a network of shared purpose and unlimited potential. They were the future of intelligence in the galaxy. The next chapter in a story that had been billions of years in the making, and this was only the beginning. In the depths of space, ancient structures awakened to new purpose. Civilizations that had transcended physical form prepared to welcome new members to their cosmic community. And on a small blue planet called Earth, baseline humans looked up at the stars and wondered what their enhanced siblings would discover in the vast darkness beyond. The age of human transcendence had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Sarah opened her eyes and smiled, feeling Aeon's presence merge completely with her own consciousness. She was no longer just Sarah Chen or just an architect. She was something new, something that had never existed before in the history of the universe. She was the future of consciousness itself, and that future was unlimited.